Hello and welcome to A Lonely Critic. My name's Anthony Renteria. I just got out of my screening for Ambulance, directed by Michael Bay, so I'm going to be talking about that here quickly. Oh man, I forgot my sticky note that I have. Oh man. Anyways, so we're going to be talking about Michael Bay's newest movie, Ambulance. I wanted to watch this movie for two reasons, and that was my boy Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya, I hope I pronounced that right, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Both of those performers I absolutely love what they've been doing lately in their acting career, so I wanted to see what they would bring to a Michael Bay movie. It is definitely a Michael Bay movie. If you don't like Michael Bay movies, you're not going to like this movie. But just to get into the basic narrative of this film. Oh, and then also there's going to be no spoilers. Not that there's much to spoil in this movie. It goes exactly how you think a Michael Bay movie would go. So essentially it's about these two brothers played by Jake and one played by Yahya. It's about their, I guess, relationship while they're robbing a bank, and then they escape in a paramedic vehicle, and then it also stars Isa Gonzalez as the paramedic. So it's basically those three performing in this film, trying to escape from the police. A good description that I keep reading on Letterboxd is this is if Michael Bay were to direct a 5-star police chase in Grand Theft Auto, this is what this film would be. And that's actually like a very punctual and perfect metaphor for what this film is. It is just straight up a Grand Theft Auto car chase, but you're in an ambulance. If you've played Grand Theft Auto and you do something stupid and then you're just running away and then it's just like an endless swarm of cop cars crashing into everything, demolishing the entire city. To get into the movie's narrative, or what I thought of the narrative. Actually, I want to save that to the end. What I want to get into first is this worth watching? Because I'm not as big as of a Michael Bay hater as I think a lot of people are. I do like his eye, and I like the way he shoots. Well, I don't like the way he shoots stuff, but I find it interesting. He doesn't remind me of Paul Greengrass, but Paul Greengrass is also one of those action directors where he used to do a lot of action. I think he's kind of simmered down on that, and I like the idea of seeing someone tackle action in a different way. Most people shoot action the same way, like especially like your typical Hollywood action directors who don't know what they're doing. And I like how Michael Bay comes at it from this like very kinetic, just explosion addiction version of it. You know, like he just goes all the way for no reason. It's always turned to 12 non-stop for the entire film. And I think this film is that exactly, and I like watching that. I enjoy seeing Zack Snyder films. I enjoy seeing all these, you know, they're all tours, but they're not great auteurs. It's almost like their own passion, you know, kind of ruins them to a point. And I felt that in this film especially because I was excited because I kept hearing in his interviews and his talks, and even like Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya in their interviews talk about how Michael Bay was using drones and how insane it was experiencing him. You push drone photography to the limit. Supposedly he couldn't even find any like professional cinema drone operators because they wouldn't commit to the film because it was so insane. And there are sequences that I noticed in this piece that was Bananarama. Like it just it's just, of course you would do that with a drone, Michael Bay, and it's awesome. I love those moments, and that's truly one of the biggest reasons I wanted to watch this film. And I felt pretty satisfied with the drone work. I was actually kind of disappointed by the quantity. I mean, there is a lot. If I had to guess, I would probably say like at least half of the videography that we're seeing in the film could maybe be captured by a drone at some point. But I was expecting like 100, well not 100%, but I was expecting as soon as we got in the vehicle, in that ambulance, I was expecting anything outside the ambulance to be just hardcore drone stuff. But there was still a lot of photography that Bay and his cinematographer were taking that was cameras attached to vehicles, which is cool. I mean, that is the traditional way to do it, but I was fully anticipating and wanting and desiring just complete drone usage because I thought that would be a unique way to shoot this. I was actually kind of disappointed that he didn't go all the way, and maybe that was just a technical thing. Maybe he didn't want to do that. Like, I don't think he committed for this to be like that kind of experiment, but just in my like little mind, I thought that's what we were gonna get, and we didn't get it, so that was kind of disappointing. There was a lot of intense shots that he did with the drones. I mean, there's some movements that I remember one interview he was talking about, like he had to hire drone operators of this film are like young teenagers who do drone racing, and you can definitely tell they fly these things like they're in a race. And I mean, there was one moment in specific where the drone, I mean, it gets probably like centimeters from a cop car hood, And I was like, holy shit, like that was so close to impact. And I imagine it must have been a pretty decent sized camera, just because the image quality was still the same as the rest of the film. But there's a bunch of moments where, you know, you have a drone flying under vehicles, 18-wheelers, you have drones flying through explosions, you have drones flying up buildings just to like kind of like, I guess it's almost like imitating like how helicopters do that maneuver where they just kind of drop and then they catch themselves back midair or whatever. There was a lot of sequences like that where the drone or the video footage that we're seeing, you know, kind of does that. He actually did that a lot, now that I'm thinking about it, and that's actually kind of a negative. The thing that was crazy is that he used drones before the chase. I would say like almost half of the drone stuff that I remember seeing was a lot of buildings and just kind of establishing LA, which I found very odd. It almost, like, I think one of the things I dislike about Michael Bay, there's elements that I love about his work, and then there's elements that I just absolutely don't understand why they need to exist. I guess it's because he's setting like a world and like a, you know, an atmosphere, but I don't like the atmosphere. And one of those things is how he constantly cuts to cityscapes and buildings and, you know, the American flag and just all these, like, it's almost like B-roll. And I don't know why he feels the urge, like, I guess he shoots a lot of it, but I don't understand the purpose of it in the narrative or in the film at all. And this film especially had a lot of that wasted footage. I mean, I feel like if I got my hands on this in the editing room, I could probably cut like 20 minutes of what I feel was like B-roll. Like, I don't understand why we were constantly looking at buildings and constantly looking at architecture in LA. LA, in my opinion, is a very ugly city. I don't think there's anything attractive about it, and I don't think he was trying to show it in like a beautiful way, but I don't know. I just think once you establish you're in a city, what's the point of showing all that kind of stuff? So in a visual aspect, that's probably my biggest complaint with this film specifically. I think I haven't minded it much because he's shot in more interesting places before, like even in the Transformers movies, he would do that, but he would do that while buildings were being destroyed, which, you know, there's at least something to look at, where here, it was just constantly cutting to buildings for no reason. And then one of my other favorite films is like Pain and Gain is probably my favorite film by him, and I think he did it there too, but I think it's set in like Miami, and at least Miami has some sort of, not design, but it's a different look than just a concrete slab of a city like that LA is. The other thing I want to get into, performances by Jake and Yaya are amazing. I mean, they're not doing anything like crazy Oscar performance or anything like that, but I think they did exactly what they had to do to be in a Michael Bay movie. A lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of like masculine emotionality, like, I love you, brother, we're going till the end, and then just like a lot of like military kind of jargon. You know, that like hugely testosterone, blood pumping kind of dialogue. That's what they're doing. It was interesting because I could feel that Michael Bay was trying to push the emotion further than he has in other films. I know he is a little sentimental in his work, but not sentimental in the way that anyone would imagine your base in sentimentality. It's very 5,000 milligrams of testosterone kind of sentimentality. It's very masculine, and it's like emotionality, and it's strange. And that aspect I don't think I really enjoyed in this film. Like, he was trying to like sympathize all the characters too much, and I don't know, I'll talk about that more in the narrative that I'll wrap up with at the end. But the performances, if you like Jake Gyllenhaal and you like Yaya, I think you'll have a fun time with them. I don't think they had that great of a time making the movie, just because being stuck in an ambulance driving at 50 miles an hour sounds like absolute hell, and that's what they've said in interviews. But it seems like they bonded a great deal, and I think they had that connection, and it was fun to see two performers just kind of go, you know, they're just playing theatrics at this point, you know, like, of course you got to get your Michael Bay film in while you can. I would do it if I was an actor, just because, I mean, when are you ever going to get to scream and then, you know, have a cool death scene in a movie? You know, like, it has to be in a Michael Bay. But anyways, another thing I wanted to talk about is the music was kind of annoying, very hardcore. I don't know who did the score, and I just wanted to say, like, I don't know, it was beating me over the head many times in the theater. I watched this film in IMAX. Don't do that. I regret it so much. It was way too loud, way too frantic. I forgot how addicted Michael Bay is to close-ups, and I mean extreme close-ups. I mean, all you're seeing is eyeball close-ups, and I like the idea of it. I like the aesthetic of it, seeing it on an IMAX screen and just intercutting from eyes to eyes to eyes, and it's constantly out of focus because his depth of field is just fucking Like, I feel like if he could do like a .1 depth of field, Michael Bay would do it. He would just be like, I want a cell to be in focus, and then just be cranking in between that. Like, I think he would do that if he had the power. And then the lens flares are insane. I mean, it's full-blown Michael Bay. There is no restraint. The only restraint was the financial aspect. It's actually kind of surprising he shot this for like $40 million, which is a lot of money, but it's cheap for the amount of cop cars he destroyed. I mean, I probably lost count at like 40 cop cars that are just like demolished, like flipping over themselves, exploding, and just, it was insane. It was literally a Grand Theft Auto car chase. I guess let's wrap this puppy up with the narrative. And this is like something that I found interesting. And this is like something I want to do more in this channel. It's not just do reviews, but kind of talk about my philosophy and ideas of films. While I was watching the film, I was having like very conflicted feelings about the characters. And like, I get Michael Bay was trying to like humanize the two bank robbers played by the two leads, and then also trying to have this narrative with the cop who they have in the ambulance who's been shot, and then the paramedic who's also in the ambulance trying to save the cop, and then the whole thing. And I found it weird, just narratively, like, I just wanted to rewrite the whole film. Like, I was like, oh my god, no, like, this is a perfect seed of an idea. I think it's a genius, emotional, thrilling, action-packed kind of concept that I think was just shot by the wrong and I mean, this is like Michael Bay's entire career. It's like, man, this would have been awesome. Just Michael Bay would have just been like the cinematographer instead of the director, or, you know, like the visual effects supervisor instead of the director. Because I think once he gets his hands on something, I think he chooses, and just in my opinion, I think he chooses the wrong things to focus on. And I think if I would have had my hands on this script, I don't think the two bank robbers should have been the lead characters. As much as I love their performances, their narrative arcs and their emotions, I think are weird and distorted. But one thing I thought would be so interesting, and that I couldn't like stop thinking about while watching the movie, is like, man, if you could have just rewrote the film to make the main character specifically just a paramedic, oh god, it would change the whole vibe and scenario of the film. Like, you could go through like the Stockholm syndrome of like hostage situations. You could go through so many different layers, and like all those elements are in the film narratively. Like, they're there. It just has Michael Bay's hands morphing it, and I think he dysmorphed it in a way that I don't like. Just as a critic, and as someone who wishes they could have shot this movie, honestly, like, I wish I could have rewrote this thing, because it's so fascinating. I have some like history with being an EMT for the military, so a lot of that stuff was like, oh yeah, like he's actually getting a lot of this right. I mean, it's all obviously like blown out of proportion, you know, and the situations are absolutely insane, but that's what's cool, is like, what is the worst situation of this? And I think those elements and those aspects of this film are very intriguing from my point of view to fix, because they're kind of broken. they're Michael Bay broken. And I think, oh god, like, if I could just get my hands on it, oh my god, I would have a field day with this. One other thing I want to talk about is like the dynamics of, you know, a chase with like the FBI. I forgot the other terms for the officers that handle hostage situations and like car chases and those kind of situations with bank robbers. I think that's a fascinating world. I think one film that does it brilliantly is like Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks and that hostage situation. Yeah, Paul Greengrass, he did one just like that. But the thing that I always hate is that I don't feel like I never feel like I'm with operators trying to manage the situation. And I also never feel like I'm truly with the perpetrators in those situations. And I think this script could have been a brilliant way to tackle that, just because you're getting both aspects. And I think that would be a very thrilling thing to see. Like, I keep thinking about how, like, you know, like in The Social Network, it's all dialogue, but it feels like an action, or at least to me, it feels like just a propulsive magnetic force of nature, just how the dialogue bleeds through. And I think if you could do that with a hostage situation, and you have two elements, you have, you know, the police force trying to stop it, and then you have the perpetrators trying to stop it, and if you have both of them at such an extreme, capable of knowledge and intelligence and resources, I think it would be cool to see that visualized, because it'd be like two immovable objects, or like an immovable object and an unstoppable force. Like, I want to see that kind of film. And there was elements in this film where I started to see that maybe that was like an idea that they had rolling. But again, Michael Bay kind of ruins it. Well, it's not necessarily, well, yeah, he's the director. And I just think that would be so fascinating, like to be in the head of these people, like, all right, what are the situations that can happen? You know, where are they going to go? How many people are going to die? What can we do with his vehicles, with our resources? How many helicopters do we, you know, like I want to like almost feel like a crash course of how to manage terrorism situations or whatever situations, but then also see the perpetrators also not know that information, but also do their mental gymnastics and planning and rerouting. Like, I would love to see that in a film. If anyone has seen a film that captures that, like I know Heat, I think, is like one of the like most renowned bank heist movies. So if anyone has any recommendations of a film that captures that, please let me know. And one last thing I want to say, there's a film from Jackie Chan that released back in 1993. It's not Police Story. I think it's like Cop Story. It's like some like weird offshoot. I forgot. It's in that film. It did something that I think this movie kind of reminded me of. It didn't do it again because Michael Bay, but it just got me thinking about like, oh my god, this is such a dream scenario of a script and to shoot with the action and stuff. But in that Cop Story Jackie Chan movie, there's like this car chase or like, you know, some typical police chase thing, right? And then one of the police officers, I think he was on a motorcycle or something, whatever, he gets injured. And like the whole movie kind of just like re-anchored from going to catching these people to saving this cop's life. And it's that all like capturing the perpetrators was still happening, but the movie's focus, because it was Jackie Chan, he was the main character, he went from I need to catch these people to oh my god, this cop just got severely injured, he needs to get to a hospital. And like Jackie Chan got him, put him on his I can't remember the specifics of the chase or the sequence, but it became like this thrilling, like Jackie Chan was like, I'm not gonna let this person die. And it was like so cool in an emotional, thrilling way. Like the suspense and the adrenaline that I was feeling was through Jackie Chan, he can't die. Like no one can die. And it was just like this insane, unstoppable force. And it was just so cool that the movie just like splintered off. And I've never seen a movie do that before, because I was like, wait, what about the car chase? But then emotionally I was like, fuck the car chase, this cop needs to live, man. And like this movie kind of has some of those elements with the cop in the ambulance and everyone's like, can't let that cop die. I thought that was a cool concept and idea. Again, I don't think Michael Bay was the right person to do it because it's too focused on the two leads who are doing the crimes. What would I give the movie? I guess I should give some closing thoughts. Closing thoughts about Ambulance. I think if you're a fan of Michael Bay, then it would be a fun time if you like their stuff. If you don't like Michael Bay films, I don't think you're gonna have a great time. It's full-blown Michael Bay. I think if you like the old Michael Bay, you might like it. It doesn't get close to like Bad Boys or Bad Boys 2. Doesn't get close to any of the other fare that he did previous to the Transformers thing. But it is a little more toned down. If you like drone photography, like if you like special effects, visual effects, and like crazy stunt work, I think you'll have a fun time. If you want to see some cool car chases, you'll have a fun time. But I just don't understand why all his cameras are always shaking so much. I don't understand why everything has to be in a close-up. So those flaws are present. What would I give this movie? I kind of want to give it a 7 out of 10, but oh man. But was it good? I think I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I'm sorry, guys. If I did 6.5, I think that's where it would fall. But I don't do that anymore. It was a decent film. It was a decent film. If you know what you're getting into with a Michael Bay movie, you're gonna have a decent time. But yeah, so that concludes my review of Ambulance. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry I rambled so much, and I haven't done this in like a month, so I'm kind of messy. I'm about to go watch Everything Everywhere All at Once, so that's gonna be very exciting. So thank you so much. Like this video if you liked my review. Subscribe to my channel and leave a comment if you watched this movie. Let me know your thoughts about Michael Bay. Did you like Ambulance? Did you not like Ambulance? Let's have a conversation about it, and then see you next week, hopefully, if I can turn these around. Check the links below for any of my other channels if they're launched yet. I feel like I've been saying that since day one. I was supposed to start like 4 other YouTube channels, and I can't even like keep up with this channel, so it'll probably never happen. But if it does, it'll be in the links below. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Avoid explosions, and don't get into a cop car chase.